They asked me not to read the speech, so I'll try not to. Because I try to speak from my heart and my mind, but I have it here as a little talk. Steve wanted me to give you some background on fracking, because as Jay said, I have been watching this issue very closely for about 3 years, and I'm very concerned about it. So here we are standing in a beautiful state park. Fortunately, there are no drilling rigs around the park at the moment. And he wanted me to explain to you a little bit why this happened. Governor Rendell is in 2010 put a moratorium on drilling in state parks and forests. However, Governor Corbett just recently lifted that moratorium. And this is a very disturbing fact. And I'm going to read one thing now, because I think that state parks and forests violates our 27th right under the Pennsylvania Constitution. This Constitution has a marvelous Bill of Rights as its first article. And the right says, the people have the right to clean air, pure water, and the preservation of the natural, scenic, historic, and aesthetic values of the environment. Pennsylvania's public natural resources are the common property of all the people, including generations yet to come. I think putting drilling rigs even on the perimeter, where there'll be noisy, smelly, disturbing, violates that rights. Hope you agree with me. Fracking is a powerful shorthand word for the hydraulic fracturing that goes on, where they put water down into the ground with sand, carcinogenic chemicals to blast the gas out of the shell. But this isn't the only part of that action. It is a complex industrial process. It involves compressor stations, pipelines, and all of these contribute to pollution of water, the air, and our health in some cases. Half of the spills that have occurred with the gas have not been reported to the Department of the Environmental Protection. An article last week said in the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. The Department of Environmental Protection recently admitted that water supplies have been damaged and polluted 109 times. And just recently, a Department of Health employee came forward to say that they were told when a resident calls about anything that could be related to natural gas, not to speak to the resident. It would be referred to the supervisor, who forwarded it to the Bureau of Epidemiology. So there are problems. Recently, the most important thing that's happened is that the Pennsylvania Auditor General issued a report after great study, and he found and said that the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection was not doing the proper oversight that it needed to do due to understaffing and underfunding. Just yesterday, the DEP admitted that it didn't exercise adequate supervision over an explosion that occurred that killed a young worker, and the investigation that followed. So there's not enough adequate oversight, not enough personnel. So we're not surrounded yet by the drilling rigs, because fracking is being kept out of Bucks County by 2 moratoriums that have occurred, but they're very, very fragile. The first one was put on by the Delaware River Basin Commission back in November of 2010 because of the fact that they are in charge of protecting the quality and the quantity of the water in the river, and they wanted to be sure by creating regulations that there wasn't going to be a problem. When they published their regulations, the Delaware River Network, Riverkeeper Network, and other groups in other states became concerned, because the Delaware River runs through Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey, and Delaware. And this commission, along with a federal representative, decided to write regulations, but when they were published, they weren't sufficiently strong to protect the water. So many people pressured and worked, and they eventually did not call for a vote on that moratorium, on their regulations, because of the pressure that they felt with people like you coming out and showing how they felt about things. So that was one time when citizen action worked. So that moratorium is still in place. The second moratorium is in place now in Bucks County and Montgomery County because of there was a certain kind of shale under our earth here, but it's not Marcellus shale, it's a different type of shale. And Act 13, the new Oil and Gas Act that was passed, which removed local control over all oil and gas operations in a municipality and could allow a drilling rig, a compressor station, or a pipeline 300 feet from a home or a school or whatever. They were sued, the state was sued, and the Pennsylvania Supreme Court eventually said that that was unconstitutional, according to that same right which I read to you. So Senator McElhaney voted for that. He voted for that law. But he was confronted by 300 citizens up at a rally, a protest rally, who said, that's wrong, you know, we don't want this. And he realized that he had to do something about it. So he got the Republican leadership to put a study, to pass a bill that would study the type of shale that we have here so that it would be, they hope, may be done carefully, safely, and without polluting anything. That study is now being done by the Penn State University, and it will be out in 2015. So it depends on what that study says, how long we can keep these rigs away. So the last thing that I wanted to say was to talk to you about the impact fee that Act 13 also passed. It did not go like other states where they severed, they put a tax on the amount of gas that comes out of the well, which is called the severance tax. And these severance taxes range usually from 5 to 7%. In Texas, believe it or not, they get 7.5% on their tax. We have this little impact fee, which only amounts to about 2.5% of any revenue coming into the budget here in the state. And a lot of it's dispensed to different groups and communities. So Senator McElhaney says that this fee is sufficient. It's 2.5%, while many other places are getting 5 to 7% in the other states. So the last thing I want to talk about is the fact that natural gas has been sold to everyone, you see the commercial, as a bridge to alternate sources of energy, alternate renewable sources, and a way to get away from fossil fuels. Not happening. It's not happening because the fossil fuel industry is subsidized and very little money is given to incentivize people or industries to develop or more things to happen that will allow this to happen. It's really a bridge to nowhere. But we have a candidate, I hope I've convinced you, we have to replace the present governor, we have to replace our senators who have passed unconstitutional laws, who are endangering our environment, our health, and we need new leadership. And I think we have somebody who will lead us in the right direction. He's a smart man, intelligent man. He is very hardworking, and he's also reasonable and pragmatic, and I think he can get something done for us. And that's Steve Cickay.